finally going to get to the chili today. Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Graham in the Kitchen. If you saw the last video where we soaked our beans for the chili, but we ran out of time in the day to make the chili, let me get you caught up. Yesterday, I put the beans in fresh water and stuck them in the refrigerator overnight. Now, today, we actually empty that water, put them back in the same pot, cover them with water, and we have them on the stove at the moment. We're going to let that come to a boil for 1 hour, turn it off, and then we're going to go ahead and put our chili together. I went ahead and took 2 pounds of ground turkey, use any kind of meat you like, in the refrigerator yesterday in anticipation of making the chili, but we're doing it today. And I realized we didn't have any chili seasoning mix. So we're going to make that today. So I'm going to tilt you down so you can see the ingredients and the measurements I use for my chili season mix. So we have smoked paprika, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, cumin, and coriander. So the chili powder, we need 3/4 of a cup. I am using smoked paprika, but you can use regular paprika, sweet paprika, whichever one you like. Need a 1/3 cup of paprika. Quarter cup of coriander. 1/4 cup of cumin. 3 tablespoons of garlic powder. 3 tablespoons of onion powder, 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of oregano. Now, depending on your preference of spice level, this is adjustable, but this is crushed red peppers. We're going to put a whole tablespoon. We're going to mix this, then we're going to put it in a glass jar. This is just an old peanut butter jar. I saved all the glass jars to reuse for spices and such. We're going to just mix that all together with a whisk. Alright, we're going to taste it to see if it's at the blend we want. Perfect. And that is our homemade chili season mix. We won't need this whole jar, but we will use right much of it for our chili. So stop buying your pre-package of seasoning blends because they have anti-caking ingredients in it, and we don't need that in our food. We just need true spices. So this is our true spice. So waiting on the beans to come up to a boil. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get all of my jars and lids and rings washed, and then we're going to go ahead and get started on the chili sauce. You can't see it, but our beans have come to a boil. I've got the timer for 1 hour. I have the Dutch oven on this side. This is where we're going to make our chili sauce. So I have 2 pounds of ground turkey we're going to put in here. Make sure you're washing your hands when you're touching raw meat. I have 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of tomato sauce, 2 cans of tomato paste, and 3 quarts of chicken broth, as well as our homemade chili seasoning mix. And if you saw the video where we made tacos, the double-decker tacos, I do have a little bit of the turkey left over from that. We're actually going to use that also. Tacos and chili have pretty much similar spices. So we're just going to add this in it to make it a little bit more meatier. My favorite wooden spatula. We're going to get this all browned up, and when we start adding all the spices and the tomato products in it, we'll bring you right back. I have some home chopped frozen onions. We're going to put about 1 cup. Let's add our cooked taco meat in there. We're going to go ahead and add 2 cans of tomato paste. This is our homemade chili blend mix. We're going to start off with 3 tablespoons. I know we're probably going to have more, but this will get us started. 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of tomato sauce. I have a can of water so we can swish to make sure we get all the goodness out of these cans. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 quart size of chicken stock. And we're just going to let that simmer, let all the flavors mellow out together. To add any more chili seasoning mix. I'm going to turn that to a medium low. The beans are also on a medium low. I just tasted the chili sauce and it does need some more, so we're going to add an additional 3 tablespoons and then we'll taste it again. Still not there yet. Still has a very strong tomato flavor and not a lot of chili flavor. The color is beautiful. It's getting there, but not quite. Are we going to need this whole jar? That's a good question to be asking. That medium chili powder gives it a beautiful color. Oh goodness. We're there. Chili sauce is starting to come to a slight simmer, which is where we want it to be. The beans have 22 minutes. We are almost ready to put this together and get this in jars. I like the flavor of the chili mix, but I've decided I want to add just a little bit more of chili powder. So I'm going to add 2 heaping tablespoons of chili powder. This is chili powder we got from Azure, and it's a medium hot. And we're going to go ahead and taste it. That's what it needed. Put a note to myself on that one. When cooking your dried beans for can worthy, you want them to still have a little bite to them, a little texture. Because we're going to put these in a pressure canner. They cannot be water bath canned. They have to be pressured canned. And they're going to continue cooking in the pressure canner in the jars. So you don't want to cook them done. You want to cook them with a little bite to it so that when they continue to cook, that's when they'll be done. So our beans have been cooking for 55 minutes. I took a taste and they are perfect. So we're going to go ahead and dump that water out and combine all the ingredients to make our chili. This is the pot we cooked our beans in. Didn't even bother rinsing it out or anything. We're just going to go ahead and start putting everything together. Put a little bit of sauce on the bottom before I add the beans to it. Our 3 pounds of cooked kidney beans were poured towards you. You'll make a mess just like I did. Go ahead and add our 2 jars of chicken stock. As you know, we already have one in the meat blend. So it's a total of 3 jars. Put a quart of water in there. And that's what we're looking for right there. I have the All-American 921 canner. It will fit 7 quarts or 16 or 18 pints. It comes with 2 racks. I have one in the bottom with the required amount of water, and this will go in between the jars. So we'll have jars underneath and jars on the top. We have our weight gauge. My altitude says I have to be at 10 pounds of pressure. I do have the burner on this because we want the water in our canner hot because we are hot packing. The jars are in the sink soaking in some hot water. Our content, in this case chili, is also hot, and our canner must be hot. So on your lid you have this steam valve right here. You just want to take a peek and make sure you can see through that, because if steam's not coming out, you're not canning under the requirements to do home canning. So you always want to make sure your steam valve is clear, and mine is clear. So I'm just putting the lid on it so it can hold in the heat so it can get hot faster. While we're waiting on that, we're going to go ahead and start filling our jars. My pot of hot chili. I have a bowl of vinegar, that's white distilled vinegar. I have a paper towel so we can wipe the rims of our glass jars. I have the lids, and these are 4 jar lids. That is the only lids I use. This is not sponsored, but I love these. I've had 0 failure on these lids. Because I'm using both wide mouth and regular mouth jars, I have the wide mouth and the regular mouth lids, as well as my rings. I have a wide mouth and a regular mouth. I have my funnel, my jar lifter, my debubbler, and on this side is a measurement. So it's 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch. Chili is a low acid food, and it has to be pressure canned. From my altitude, that would be 10 pounds of pressure. For pints, it's 75 minutes. For quarts, it's 90 minutes. And that's once it comes up to pressure, that's when time starts. The water in the canner is hot enough for me to be able to put our jars in. So we're going to scoop some beans in here till it's about a little bit more than half, and then we're going to fill the rest of it with the liquid. I do like having ready to eat meals on my pantry shelf, and chili is pretty much an all day task, and if I can have it ready in jars whenever we want chili, that's a win-win for me. And if you don't have a canner and you don't plan on buying a canner, You can actually let this cool completely. Put it in the refrigerator until it gets cold. Put it in Ziploc bags or freezer safe containers. And you can actually put this in your freezer. That way you can have ready to eat meals in your freezer. We got our paper towel, some vinegar. We're going to run the edge. That way we get all the particles off of the rim of the glass jars, so nothing keeps it from sealing. If you have jars that do not seal, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be because particles was left on the rim of the glass and prohibit it from sealing. Lid's going on fingertip tight. Do not crank it down. Alright, so this 4 is going to go in the canner. I am using 3 types of jars. So I have the ball wide mouth, the ball or cur jar's regular mouth. This jar I actually call it like a mayonnaise jar, but I get this from Azure, and I actually like these pints better. They do fit the lid and they fit the rings. Because they're taller and skinnier, I can actually get more on my shelf with this one. I'm going to do all of the wide mouths first. That way like jars will be on the bottom, and like jars will be on the top. I just realized we did not debubble the first one, so I will debubble that real quick. Not going to worry about showing you, but I will go back and debubble those. And while you're sitting there putting your alcohol around your rims, when you're wiping your rims down, check for any nicks or cracks in your jars, because they will break in the canner under pressure, and that will be a waste of product. Okay, next 4 going into the canner. And I was able to get 8 pints of the wide mouth jars on the bottom rack. You can just take your chili recipe and you can can it. The only thing is, if you put any kind of thickener such as flour or starch in your chili, you cannot do that in a home canning situation. So do not add any flour or cream or pasta, rice. Do not add any of that to your home canning. It is considered an unsafe canning recipe. These are the ball or cur jars. Even with the funnel, I make a mess. But that's okay. We're just going to give ourselves some insurance and wipe these rims down. pints of the cur or ball jars. The jars right here are from Azure. These are my favorite jars. It smells so good. Looks like I'm having chili for lunch today. I have 8 pints of the wide mouth on the bottom. I have 1 wide mouth pint on top. I have 5 of the ball or cur jars. 5 of the Azure jars. So I have 11 pints on the top and 8 on the bottom. 19 pints. Let's see if the lid go in here, because sometimes I can't get that many in there. Nope. One's got to come out. I'll take the wide mouth out. So that gives me 18 pints jars of shelf-stable chili. So the rest of the vinegar that we use to wipe the rims of the jars, just going to dump that in there. That's supposed to, I don't know because I've never done it without it, keep from mineral deposits on your jars and keep your jars clean and clear. Not necessarily in the canning process, but I do want my jars to stay clear from any mineral deposits. So I do it. Now we're going to put the lid on, screw in the wing nuts, just fingertip tight for right now. We're going to do a visual to make sure our gap from the top and the base is even all the way around. And it is not. Okay, it looks like it's good now. Cranking it down. So on medium heat. We need to wait till steam comes out of this vent, and we gotta let it steam for 10 minutes. Then we'll put our weight on. My altitude would be 10 pounds of pressure. Right on top of that, the pressure will rise to 10 pounds. This will start rocking regularly. We want 4 rocks a minute. We don't want it to continuously to rock, just 4 times a minute. Once it reaches there, that's where our time starts. For pints, non-acidic food is 75 minutes. So it's been steaming and venting for 10 minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and place our weight. 10 pounds of pressure. We're going to wait till the gauge gets to 10 pounds. Start jiggling. Once it's consistent, our time starts there. 75 minutes. The canner is up to pressure. We're going to monitor the rocking of the weight. We do want it to rock, pause 4 times a minute. Once we reach that, that's where our time starts for 75 minutes. The canner was under pressure for 75 minutes. I turned the burner off. I'll let it natural release to 0. Now we're going to go ahead and take our weight gauge off. You should hear no hissing. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and take the lid off by loosening up the wing nuts. We're going to slowly turn the lid counterclockwise to unlatch the hooks. We're going to lift it up away from us, but we're going to rest it on the bottom for 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, we'll take the lid off, let the jar sit in there for an additional 5 minutes. Then we can go ahead and take our jars out. And we are done. We have 18 jars of chili going on our pantry shelf. All the lids, dead seal, perfect. Like I said, I've never had any issues with 4-jar lids. Went ahead and took the rings off, washed the jars, and labeled them. They are ready to go. And if you're wondering, it is a very thick chili, is how we like it. 1 jar that we were making together yesterday, but it didn't fit in the canner. So I know my canner holds 18 pints. So I just have this sitting in the refrigerator. We'll do fresh eating on this. And I have a bowl also. I'm not going to run the canner for just 3 or 4 jars. So this is going on the shelf, and this is fresh eating. So in the description below, I'll write down the recipe and the instructions on how I make my chili. We ended up using 15 tablespoons, might as well say a cup, of our homemade chili season mix. So this is what we have left. The jar was full. We have this left. So we might as well say we used a cup. Then in addition to that, we put 2 tablespoons of just chili powder in there, just to give it that extra chili flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on my pantry. I just want to say thank you very much for spending the day with me while we made some shelf-stable, ready-to-eat chili. And if you don't mind, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you would, go ahead and subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. This is a kitchen where we do traditional cooking with real ingredients for healthy meals to nourish our families. We don't do box or pre-made anything. Everything is made by scratch with love with real ingredients. Down below, I'll also leave my Azure Standard link if you are interested in checking them out, because that's where I get all of my bulk spices to make chili blend. And if you saw, we made a taco blend, fajita blend, all of the things. That's where I get all of my bulk spices, and it's a very reasonable price. And that way you can have spices in your pantry to make your own seasoned mixes and stop buying the little envelopes of seasonings at the grocery store. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.